start recording button. So we should be live and the recording is off. So hey everyone, welcome to the Advanced eBook Publishing Strategies version 5.0, the Q&A session for all of our new members that joined us. And I'm going to start by first unmuting, and I'm going to start with Amber. So Amber, if you're ready, go ahead and scribble in the chat box that you are ready, and I'll go ahead and unmute you. Excellent. Okay. Let me go ahead and hit attendee list and unmute Amber. Amber, you are unmuted. Can you hear me? Amber? Okay. Amber, if you're not ready with a mic, I'll just go ahead and I'll go ahead and ask you to just go ahead and scribble your question in, and then I'm just going to go ahead and mute you, and then okay, Cricket, you've got your hand up. All right, awesome. Okay, so I'll start with Cricket. If you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Cricket. It's kind of hard to kind of go through this thingamajig here. It's very clunky, typically extremely small. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Cricket, and you can go ahead and get your question in. Cricket, are you there? Still not hearing Cricket either. Cricket, are you there? Cricket, I'm getting some feedback. I think you're self-muted, Cricket, so you need to actually unmute yourself. I can actually hear you in the background. Okay, not on mic right now. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so let me go down the line here. Cricket, you can scribble in your question, and then I'll get back to you. If anyone who has their mic ready, you can go ahead and just raise your hand, and I'll go ahead and quickly unmute you. I can see that right here in the attendee list. Okay, great, Tony. All right, awesome. Liz is also ready. All right, great. So, Tony, you raised your hand first, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Tony, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and everyone else can hear you too. So,
okay.
So you're also being recorded. I just wanted to make you aware of that as well. So, okay, go ahead, shoot.
Well, my question really isn't about the zero content. I mean, I have other questions, but
sure, awesome. Go ahead.
My question is, when I first put my book up to Amazon, they don't really give you that many categories. Like they let a drop down, and you can do business, but it doesn't seem like you can get really specific, like with your categories. Like if I wanted to be, it's on how to start a business. So I wanted to go in the business section, but then I wanted to go into other sections. But
okay.
I know it doesn't make sense, but they didn't make sense with trying to get the book in the right category.
Okay, awesome. So let me go ahead and give you a little idea of how this works. So Amazon uses something known as the BISAC codes. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up here if you're seeing my screen.
Yes.
So, okay. So these are what are known as BISAC codes, and this is pretty much standard across the board for most retailing companies, and it's a standard that all publishers use and all authors use to categorize their books. So they're primarily these codes that are applicable to what it is that you want to do. So you had mentioned that you're in business, right?
Right.
Okay, so this file, this file is available in the members area. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can jump in to the members area here. And it should be, oops, I am actually not logged in, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in here. And let me go ahead and go to Colin W.F. Scott, and I'm going to log in so you can actually see the actual lesson, because we talk about this directly, right? And it should be here. Okay. So this is a lesson that looks on BISAC codes, and recently Amazon had, their own kind of categorization, so to speak. And because of, global standards, they would have to, start to implement BISAC codes for electronic books, which they didn't previously do. They had their own thing going. Now, they did have BISAC codes for print books, but not for electronic books. So recently, as I said to you before, they implemented this. So we did a lesson just so that you could actually revisit your older books, right? So you would want to put your older books in the right categories, and you would be able to use the BISAC codes here in order to do that. So all you've got to do is that when you head to this lesson, which is actually, let me tell you what module that is, BISAC codes 10.22 in the members area. You head here, and then we talk about just about 10 minutes on exactly why it's important to put your books in the right category and how you can actually find the right category for your books. So you're going to be able to download the spreadsheet. And what you want to do is that you want to probably go ahead and click on Control F. And you had mentioned that your book was on business?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to click here, and I'm not going to search the sheet. I'm going to search the entire workbook. And I'm going to just go ahead and look for business. And I'm going to click on Find All. And what it's going to do is that it's going to find every single thing that is related or uses the term business in a particular BISAC code. So you can see here where it has business and economics as a top level category. Then you have business aspects, business communication, ethics, etiquette, law, mathematics, writing, corporate and business history. All of these are related to business, right? And they fall under different top level categories. So if you're doing something that falls into any one of these, then you're going to basically just choose one. So what I'll do, let's assume that you are. Let me ask you, what do you think? Is your stuff on business development or e-commerce? What is it all about?
It's really geared to, I see now, women in business. So it's really a book on how to start a business, and it's geared towards women. So
Awesome. So I'll go ahead and I'll click Women in Business, and it takes me to that exact worksheet, which is Women in Business here, and it gives me the exact code. And you would take that code and you would place that code when you're going into Amazon Kindle and you're looking for that particular category. You already now know that this falls under, let me find the top, which is business itself. So it falls under business and economics. And so that is a category that you would start off with. And you'd be looking for, of course, women in business. And that's where you would place your particular link. And this is where you would find it. So it kind of helps you to kind of navigate it easily outside before you go into Amazon Kindle and you're doing your submission to find the right category that you want to actually place your book in. So if you go to module 10.22 in the members area, go ahead and watch the video. It's basically exactly what I'm showing you now, and you're going to be able to locate the right category using Control F on this spreadsheet. I find it a little bit easier, specifically when we're doing it, so that when we're creating what are known as book detail files, and our submission person is going through that process, that we find the right category to place our books in, because that's very, very important with respect to discovery. And especially if you are publishing to other platforms such as Apple, Barnes & Noble, and other, just in general, other publishing platforms, the BISAC codes are critical in ensuring that you get into the right category. It's a very, very simple process. It's not difficult at all. So once you go ahead and head over to 10.22, go ahead and download that spreadsheet, and then you can use the same method I just showed you to find exactly what it is that you're looking for, and then you can use that code when you're submitting to Amazon Kindle. If that helps, awesome. Hopefully.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Excellent. No problem. Okay, so let's go. Any other questions? Tony?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to the next person. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
okay. Well, sure.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
is it different than
Mhm.
when you put it up on, if you do it via CreateSpace? CreateSpace only gives you the printable version.
No,
So do I
okay,
need,
no.
okay,
Okay, so the thing with CreateSpace is that CreateSpace uses the very same BISAC codes.
okay.
So does LSI, so does every single one of the, I would probably say, the print presses, so to speak, use the exact same BISAC codes. And the real reason for this, it's not specifically for the print company. It's really and truly for the retailer. So the retailer knows exactly where to place your content, because you wouldn't want to be placed in erotica, right? So
Right.
right, so the reality here is, and that has multiple implications, I'll tell you, because if you're going through a distributor or an aggregator, right? So let's say that you decide, at some given point in time to say, okay, well, look, I'm not going to only publish with Amazon and publish through the KDP or publish through CreateSpace or ACX. I want to publish to every single retailer I possibly can. What happens is that your metadata is placed along with your files, and your files are called assets. And in your metadata is this BISAC code. So if you are a retailer, when that information comes over to you, you know exactly where you're going to place this book. If you don't have that BISAC code, then the retailer won't have a clue where to place your book, because they really don't look and read your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
They only want to list it so that others can purchase it, and they're making a profit from that. So your metadata is going to be able to tell them every single thing about your book, and this BISAC code is going to tell them exactly where to place it. So if you're in CreateSpace and you head to the last stage, which is the description page, it's going to then give you some options of which to place your book in a particular BISAC section. And that is exactly where you can just copy this particular BISAC code and just place it in, and it will automatically read the code and select the option that you want and then place your content there. So that is very, very, very important. It's one of the things that are critical for book discovery. If you don't have your metadata correct, then it's going to be a real issue at the end of the day. As I said to you before, retailers look for books that are in this category. Let's look on a company like All Romance eBooks. All Romance eBooks, looks on fiction mainly, so all romance, whatever the case might be. And if you end up putting your BISAC code as that, when that retailer finds that, they might inadvertently end up putting your book in all romance ebooks when they really don't want your type of book. What would
Mm-hmm.
end up happening is that you would obviously not see any sales, because the customer base for all romance ebooks is looking for romance novels. So you wouldn't get any sales on that particular, retail platform. More importantly, if someone is searching on Barnes & Noble and they're looking for, information for women in business, they would not find your book in that specific category, because you wouldn't be placed in there. It would be placed in erotica. And as a result of that, then of course the erotica guys won't be buying your book, because you're not erotic or printing or creating erotic
Right.
content. And of course the guys who are actually looking for your content would not find you because you're in the wrong category. So yeah, CreateSpace does that. Every single aggregator gives you the option to enter in your BISAC code, and that is very, very, very important. You want to make sure that you do that as well.
So even if you were in the wrong category but had the right title, that still wouldn't help you.
No, it wouldn't, because most people who you're going to get, you're not going to be taken up by the retailers who are specialist retailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So specialist retail is a big thing, like All Romance eBooks. I think I did do a lesson on that. And there's also special retailers like Keg. Keg looks on mainly educational content. So if I was to go to, let me try Keg here. Right. So Keg deals with a lot of, I would probably say student kind of stuff like that. And what will end up happening is that if Keg realizes that your book is in this category, right, in
Mm-hmm.
the erotic category, they won't take your content, right, because they're really targeting stuff that's educational. So more importantly, you'll not get into keg where you should be, where you can generate sales. And then of course you would end up going into, a retailer that you would obviously not generate sales. So even if your title is targeted, it might not work. Similarly, for Amazon, if Amazon is going to place you as a bestseller or individuals who are searching, you have something known as item-to-item collaborative filtering. That collaborative filtering tells Amazon, and if you're, as an Amazon, of course, obvious customer, you would have possibly either downloaded a book for a friend or downloaded even one of your own books when it's on free or whatever the case might be to kind of see what your book even looks like or what happens with another friend if you're, probably looking to give that person a review. If you go ahead and do that, you would have realized that, Amazon will send you an email a couple of days later saying, okay, well, you downloaded book A. Here's book B, book C, book D, and book E that are also in the same category that you might be interested in, right? So the system that they use for that is known as, collaborative filtering. It's kind of like looking on where you're from, what you're reading, and then, of course, kind of upselling you other books in that particular category. Now, if you end up not being in that category, and you're in, erotica, when you have something that's in women in business, if someone purchases a book that's in a similar category to yours, Amazon won't email you that particular book. Your book would not fall into that type of filtering because you're in erotica, right? So the additional marketing that goes behind the scenes where Amazon is kind of reaching out to their own customer base to kind of sell them those books, which incidentally I've been told contributes to at least 30% of sales in terms of those emails. Of course, this is 30% across the entire Amazon ecosystem. But more importantly, it obviously would probably transcend into electronic book sales as well. You won't end up being in that list because of the mere fact that you're in the wrong category. Okay. So all of those things, just kind of bundled together would not result in, you kind of optimizing your discovery and more importantly, optimizing your sales. So you don't want that to be the case. You've got to make sure that your BISAC codes are on point and that, your metadata as a whole is on point more importantly. So
okay.
Awesome, Tony. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So stick around. There are a whole lot of more questions that you probably are not sure that you actually want to ask that someone else is going to ask. I can guarantee you. And we're going to be here for hours. So don't worry. We might eventually get back to you. Okay. So I'm going to unmute you and ask anyone else who is ready. Liz, your hand is up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab you. Liz, you there?
Yeah. Hi, Colin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Great. Okay, so you sound like you're an Aussie. Sorry.
No, I'm from the UK.
You're a Brit. Okay, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. So go ahead. I'm ready to take your questions.
So I've been going through the zero content book training.
Okay, excellent.
And I was wondering if there's some training on how to create a zero content book myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you have to kind of figure out with zero content books, right? The best zero content books are done by a professional, and the reason for this is I'm not saying it can't be done in Microsoft Word. It really and truly just boils down to your, what you're putting in there. And I'll give you a particular example. You can use Microsoft Word to create your zero content book, right? So I would go ahead and I have Word 2013, but it's basically the same as, Word Anywhere. Just a little bit, looks a little bit different. So normally what you'd want to do is that you'd want to go ahead and you would put in your title and then you put in your subtitle. And if you're going to do anything like lining it up, right, you would probably want to go ahead and do something like this. And now, I've never done this before because I just normally use my own staff to do this. We hired a couple of people who are actually through 24hourcovers.com, which is a subsidiary for Speedy Publishing. We hired 3 graphic designers, all of which worked with the major publishing companies before. and we created the company and we placed them in there, and they basically run that company themselves. And what we do is that we're able to, through that, get a highly discounted rate in terms of the creation of those books. So we pay them about $127 for one particular book, which is formatted up to 50 pages. And the reason why we did this is because we know that members are going to want to have that option. But if you want to do it yourself, you can go ahead and copy stuff like this, create anything like this. I'm going to try and find one that I think one of our members has actually created. So I'm going to go ahead and look for it. I think it's My Prayer. I think it was a prayer journal. So you can actually see what it looks like. Okay, it's not here. So let me go ahead and see if I can get into. Let me just go ahead and log in here, and I'm going to go ahead and look for prayer. Let's go ahead and look. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead. And Frances is absolutely brilliant in terms of, what she's able to do. And I'm giving you a basic idea of what she created here, right? Now, as you can see, this is what she created in Microsoft Word, and it's a zero content book. So as you scroll down here, and you have this diary belongs to, if found, please call, and then you've got a table of contents, right? And then short introduction, of course, I guess that might be unique content. Then she gives you how to use this diary, which is brilliant. And then a prayer request date for that example page, and she gives you an example of what to fill in. And then she adds a couple of images, and then here you go with the repetitive limited content. So who is a prayer for? More comments. Who is a prayer for? And as you can see, this is in Microsoft Word, right? So it's a basic, simple thing that you want to do. Now, we have a service because we do our own distributions. So I'm going to go to speedybookeditor.com. Let's make sure this. Oh, wow. Did I put Speedy Book? Oh, Speed. The T. There's no Y. Okay, speedybookeditor.com. So this should come up. Excellent. So what we've done in this particular instance here is that we've been able to kind of train you on how to create your book that it can be distributed with companies like Lightning Source. Now, Lightning Source is, of course, a major distributor of content through Ingram, which is, of course, the largest one, arguably next to Baker Tilly. So the idea here is that we show you here how to actually create this book, that you can upload it in a snap to CreateSpace, and it's done correctly. And CreateSpace will accept it, right? And we give you, of course, the PDF that kind of guides you through that entire process. So this is through our distribution arm, so we kind of tell you exactly what to do here. So this is, of course, mainly for our Speedy Publishing distribution members, but this also works very well. So it's a simple Microsoft Word document that you can just add your content to and just adhere to the rules of repetitive limited content. And this is exactly what Frances has done here. And I can tell you this is absolutely brilliant. Now, despite... Okay, sorry, go ahead, Liz. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So the speedybookeditor.com, is that a webinar that we can watch?
Yes, it is. It's actually it's actually training that goes out to our members who are distributing content through us. What we basically do is that we're an aggregator as well, and we recently kind of started this business by partnering with Ingram Content, and we're able to distribute to all of the e-publishing companies and all of the print companies as well. And what we do is that we say to our members, create good content, then give us that content, and then Ingram Content Inc., or Ingram, the distribution company, will then distribute that content both in print and digital. And that reaches hundreds and hundreds of retailers. And I mean hundreds and hundreds of retailers. This is not as simple as probably Smashwords, because we've looked on it. We know that print books sell more than digital books, right? So it would be we would be less than, smart. It would not be prudent if we were not to be distributing in print. It just wouldn't make any sense. So what we've basically done is that we partnered with Ingram, sorry, to make sure that we can distribute both to Apple, to every other digital retailer you can possibly think of that's out there. And then more importantly, partnered with them through Lightning Source so that we can reach all of the book resellers, physical book resellers as well. So we've taken that initiative. So what we trained you on Speedy Book Editor was to make sure that even if you weren't going to go through us and you wanted to take this book, for instance, if Frances wanted to take this book and carry it to LSI herself, that it would be formatted correctly, that she would be able to upload that book into LSI and not have to pay LSI $75. So there's a process known as digital certification that if you decide to actually go through Lightning Source, that you're going to be required to pay $75 in order to format your content. By following that video, you won't have to do that because we give you, bit by bit by bit, exactly what you need to do to make sure that your content is fit enough to go through so you don't have to pay. So incidentally, for all the members that don't know, when you go into Amazon and into CreateSpace, and you decide to publish your book, CreateSpace offers you something known as expanded distribution. Expanded distribution is actually them sending the book over to Ingram through LSI. And what they actually do is that LSI charges you a fee of $12 to get you in mass distribution. Now, what Amazon or CreateSpace does is that they kind of double that fee, right? So they take your book and they send it over to LSI. They charge you $25. They take 13 for themselves, and then they pay the 12 over to LSI. You can go into LSI on your own. Once you follow and adhere to what it is that we're showing you to make sure that you get into what is known as digital certification, then you won't have to pay the $75 that they would charge you to get your book into the right formatting. And more importantly, your book distribution goes a lot faster when you follow that particular process as well. So it's the same thing here with doing these zero content books. You want to make sure that you adhere to that. Put it into Microsoft Word. Very, very simple, very, very easy. And this is a great, great example. And of course, Frances does add a couple of images. So it's repetitive per se and very, very useful to the reader. And the person can, of course, at the end of the day, interact with the book by writing or scribbling or whatever it is that they want to go ahead and do with it. And it's very simple to create in Microsoft Word. Just ensure that you follow the training on the Speedy Book Editor. That way you're going to make sure that you get in the right formats in terms of the different sizes that you want to get your book in. Because it doesn't have to be 6x9. It can be 8.5 by 10. It can be 8 by 10. It can be anything you want to be. Just follow that training, and that training will tell you exactly what to do in terms of getting your book ready for that process. So simple, quite easy.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Awesome.
And the other question I have is based around what for the $127 that you charge to get a book done. How much input do we have to do that?
Oh, a lot. Let me go ahead and give to you what that looks like. See, thanks for your zero content book order. Okay. So once you've ordered, you're sent to this particular page. So you're going to enter in your full name, your PayPal email address, your existing email address. Now we take these two because at times I know some members use a different PayPal email address, but of course they have an email address that's probably attached to their mobile device that they get emails all the time. We want to definitely make sure that you're getting our emails if there is an issue we want to talk to you about, or we want to get more information from you. And then you choose what niche keyword that you basically want. And the reason why we do that is because we do give you a zero content niche report. And these are, of course, the popular niches that are out there that people are both searching for online, that Amazon is showing up for, and that people are searching for on Amazon. So you can either decide to choose whether you want to go with a coloring book, a planner, a daily planner, a future diary, photo album, any one of these that you might decide to work with. Now, what we've realized, because we use a lot of things called vectors, and this is what, Suzette, who's our creative director, has told me, is that they use a lot of vectors. The reason is because they want to make sure that the quality is extremely high. So with respect to coloring books, it's very difficult to actually source those as vectors that that can be used. And as a result of that, it adds both time and cost to the entire process. But she will, of course, discuss that with you at the beginning of the process to say to you, okay, well, look, with respect to this might probably cost you an additional $20 because it's going to take more time, because it's going to require an illustration of sorts, which might cost a little bit more. And it's really based on time per se. But your end result is going to be something that you can, A, deliver directly to CreateSpace and upload it without an issue, and B, deliver it to Lightning Source and upload it without an issue. So you'll be able to go through those two places. And again, the only thing that you're required to do is to, of course, put in that keyword, determine the trim size that you want. If you're going with 5x5, 6x9, 6.14 4x921, you select your trim size, and then we give you an entire field here that if you want to add anything and tell us as much about the type of book that you would want in terms of your concept, you can go ahead and fill that information in, and then of course you go ahead and send your order details, and immediately after purchasing you're sent to this page. So that is absolutely perfect in terms of what it is that you'd want to give us and tell us, and how much input you really do have. And once you send that in, we normally just say you have kind of one update. Typically, I'll give you an example. One of our members recently wanted a book cover with a particular style. Now, one of the reasons why I hired individuals who were coming from a publishing background was specifically because they understand the psychology of colors and what colors evoke whatever particular emotions, which of course lead to higher conversions, which is what people tend to want to see, which is why I needed those professionals. It's not that I couldn't learn that, but then it's more important for me to work with someone who, of course, is seasoned in that type of knowledge. They have that kind of technical knowledge, which I really, at this particular point in time, while I need to know it for my business, the reality here is I can depend on the experts, and that's more important to being successful. So so those guys will basically be able to guide you. And if you said, well, I want a black cover, and it was a children's book, they would probably come back to you and say, well, we don't think this is going to work, But of course, if you insist, they'll create it in the way that you want to. But the reality here is that a lot of time you want to kind of depend on their expertise at the end of the day to kind of guide you, so that you have a higher rate of conversions, specifically when you're selling your books. So.
Okay, and so if you have images that you wanted to put in, could you add them somewhere?
No. Once you do that, what you would do is go ahead and indicate tell us as much about your order, and let them know that you've got images. There are two things about those images, though, that you have to be aware of. They need to be 300 dpi, minimum of 300 dpi. If they are not 300 dpi, then that's going to be an issue, because both Lightning Source and CreateSpace, of course, do want a minimum of 300 dpi. While CreateSpace is less rigid, they'll take a 200 dpi image and they'll put your book out there. They really can take just about anything. But more importantly, you want to ensure that you have a minimum image. That image has to be at least 300 dpi, because your image, if you're going into Lightning Source, has to be converted from a regular I think it's a JPEG or PNG or whatever it is. It has to be converted into something known as CMYK from RGB. And normally, if you have a lower resolution image and you're converting it to CMYK, it's not going to come out as good. And then when it's actually printed, it's not going to look good at all, I'm told. So you want to make sure, if you've got those images, just indicate in the checkbox here, in the chat box, that you have your own images and you want to add your own images. This is going to be read by that particular graphic designer. We've got 3 of them who are on staff, and they all have help. So if it gets to them first, and then they would, of course, contact you and say, okay, well, look, all right, send us the images, and they'll send you a link where you can just upload those images quite easily, and then they'll grab those images, and then they'll basically tell you if, they're CMYK or if they're actually, 300 DPI, or if they can actually be used in the publication.
Okay, brilliant.
Awesome. Okay, so all right, hope that helps, Liz. I am going to.
Thank you.
Oh, excellent, great. Stick around. There are more questions and answers to come.
Yeah, we'll do.
Great. So, who else wants to stick their hand up? Okay, B, got you. Okay, B. So I'm unmuting you now. B, are you there?
I don't know if you're referring to me.
Yes, I am, because you're registered as B Haywood.
Oh, that's me then.
Awesome.
I put something in the chat box. My name is Barbara. So thank you for taking my call.
Okay, awesome. No problem.
I'm very new to your program. I just joined about a week or so ago.
Awesome.
And
Welcome.
I've had some cookbooks up on Amazon KDP for about a year and a half, and it's a series of cookbooks.
Excellent.
And they all exist in Kindle format, and I wanted to convert them to CreateSpace, but excuse me. But then I had some issues with my book being actually pirated.
Wow. Okay.
So I was concerned about if I put it out there in all these other markets, because I actually had to go through all these BitTorrent sites, find my book, and write Amazon probably a 10-page letter with screen captures. And my book had been pirated because under the KDP program, you're not allowed to publish elsewhere.
Right.
And get them to reinstate my account.
Oh, they had shut your account down.
No, they threatened to, because I got an email from them saying that under the terms of the KDP program, you're not allowed to publish on other platforms. And so like, wait, I didn't publish it. Somebody stole my book. Of course, when they do the free digital downloads for the day, I guess there are people up where and they just pirated my book and they put it on all these BitTorrent sites. So now I saved that off, and it was like a nightmare to even have to research all of that. But now I thought, well, this fall what I'd like to do is take my Kindle books, put them in print format, of course, on the Amazon marketplace. But, is it more profitable to go across all the 16 platforms, or stick with Amazon? And what about the whole piracy question?
Okay. So here's the thing, and I did speak about it. I was just looking for the lesson. I think I mentioned it briefly in one of the Speedy Nuggets that I've done each week. Where your instance, or what has happened to you, is something that happened to a member. It's very, very similar, and we walked through the entire process. So here's the thing with Amazon, and Amazon is cognizant of this, right? There are individuals who will go, when you put your book out there for free, right? There are individuals who will actually take your book, and they're going to be able to strip that book down, and they can use any means that they want to. The person can take a print screen, and they can use what is known as optimal character recognition software. And they'll take your content, and they will strip that content from it, and they'll take it and they'll put it online for free. And the problem with that, Amazon is very much aware of this. Amazon is very much aware of this. They know this. So there are two things that you can do primarily to prevent this from happening to you. When Amazon says to you, okay, well, we found your content online, normally they'll send you a message that says, verify that you are the owner of this content, right? The first thing you want to do is make sure that you check with a service known as Copyscape. So you go to Copyscape, and you take your own content, and I'm going to log in here. You take your own content, and you plug your content into Copyscape. And when you plug your content into Copyscape, if it is anywhere else, and I'm going to go to, let's say, the New York Times, and let's choose probably a very old article. And we know that New York Times is, of course, Spider Daily. So if I was to take this particular content here, and I wanted to go ahead and just copy this, I would copy that, and then I would go into CopyScape. Let's see if it worked. And then I clicked on Premium Search. It will tell me where that content is. So it will tell me if that content exists online. So I can now see here that it says here, of course, New York Times, and then, of course, you have other people who are ripping off New York Times' content, which is Digital Planet, and then, you know, EIN News or whatever the places is, or Books, Blogs, Blogspot, wherever. So you first find out that your content, where your content exists online. Then what you're going to do is that you're going to take this particular page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on. I don't have to actually compare the text. What I'm going to go ahead and copy this particular page here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Compare Text. And maybe New York Times was not the right page to use. But here's what would happen. Once I found this page, I would go to another website known as archive.org. Right? And this is the clear, surefire way to say to Amazon, look, this content existed and lived on Amazon before anything happened. So I didn't put it out there in the free world. You did. Or because of your inept system, it got stolen. Right? So you're going to go ahead and put in, I would put in that URL, and I would say, take me back. And what it would do is that it would tell me exactly when that page first appeared on the web. What's the date? And as I can see, I know that archive.org probably, New York Times probably blocks archive.org. So let's try another example. Let me try another website, possibly. Let's say I think it would be, I think Easy in Articles is also blocked. So I'll go probably with the Jamaican Gleaner, which is our daily news publication. And I'll go ahead and grab this. Well, this is too early. So I'll go ahead and grab a much older story. But the general idea is that archive.org is going to be able to show me exactly when the Jamaica Gleaner went online and at what date a particular page, more importantly, went online. Right? And so I'm going to go JamaicaGleaner.com and let's see if it takes me back. So here you can actually see here, it goes all the way back to 1997, right? All the way back, 98, 99, 2000, all of these dates are all there. So all I'd have to do is then find that page. When exactly did that page first go online? And if that page went online after my book was published with Amazon, then Amazon would, of course, then know that I would have not taken, I would not have been the person to put that out there. And then once what you're going to do is, and you've got to remember that Amazon says, this is our hardline stance. We don't want free content being sold in our stores. That's their stance. Irregardless, despite the fact that the leak came from them, they're culpable, right? They're still taking their stance, right? This is what a large company does.
They are, because it was the only place that my content was ever published was on Amazon Kindle.
Exactly.
And it took me a long time to research and do the screen captures and go to all these, Pirate Bay and BitTorrent, and download other download sites and find my book there and do screen captures of. Yeah.
The key thing,
innocent, and it will try to shut you down. Yeah.
Yes, but that's the thing. But what you do then is that, because you have to do everything in your poll, right? But they have to accept some of the responsibility. Now, this has happened to another member, as I mentioned before, and this is exactly what we did. We found the page, traced the page back to its first publication date, which was almost 3 months subsequent to her book being published, and only about 4 weeks after she had gone into KDP Select and set her book for free. So we know that individuals who downloaded the book, they're the ones who perpetrated the piracy. So we were able to go through the process, find the page, indicate when the page first went up, and then, having done so, we went to the DMYCA compliancy for Google. So we went here and we said, right, so we went to Google results and we said, okay, well, look, if they are going to find the page, normally what Amazon does is that Amazon will, of course, use search through a particular Google search, right? Because they're looking at an index. That's mainly what everyone goes to, which is Google. So they don't want your content in Google primarily. They don't, of course, want it in Bing, and they wouldn't want it in Yahoo, which, of course, are the same, right? No, but to an extent. But the key point here is that you would then go ahead and file a DMYCA. You'd file this copyright violation with Google, sending Google the pages for these particular sites and explaining to Google what exactly has taken place. So once you've done all of that, and then you've informed Google, you'll get something in return coming back to you to say, okay, we've gotten your response, and we'll be contacting these website owners, and then if they don't have, a valid response to us, we'll go ahead and remove those pages from our index. And Google will do this, and so will Yahoo, and so will Bing. When you get that response from those companies, then you send that in an email to Amazon and say, look, I am already aware that you are really and truly the ones who have allowed this to happen, despite me giving you the content. It should have been in your best interest to protect that content from being copied. If you make it available to other people, there's nothing that we can do with it, because if a person purchases that content, right, then there's nothing that we can actually do at the end of the day. So regardless of that, you do your utmost best on your side of the world to protect your own copyright and inform them that you are doing so. And then at that point, they cannot, in all honesty, ban your account. It would be malicious on their part to go ahead and do so. So it would not be a really difficult process that you would want to go ahead and do. But that is the key way of protecting your content if it ends up falling into the wrong hands and the person publishes that, wide scale in the market. This is the best way for you to be able to get your account back. Now, on to your next question, which is, okay, well, now that you've gotten this rectified with Amazon to an extent, and you want to, of course, make your book, into a paperback format. So what you would want to do is that you would go over to the members area, and then you would go into your templates, and what you'd basically do is that you can download what is known as the CreateSpace template. And in this video here, we actually teach you how to actually add your content to this CreateSpace template. Very simple, very easy process, how to get your content into it. And of course, it's based on Microsoft Word, right? Now, once you've done that, then if you want to get into Apple and those other places, those companies take a specific type of format. They take what is known as an EPUB. And to create an EPUB, there's several ways that you can do that using your Microsoft Word file. You can either go ahead and convert that EPUB using a free online editor, or you can actually purchase software that can do this. And there's software out there such as, I think it's EPUB Mage. That you can actually do that with. Let's see, EPUB Mage. Here we go. So you can go into something like EPUB Maker. Let me see if I hit the buy button right. Okay, so you can go into something like EPUB Maker where you can upload your Microsoft Word document, and it will convert it into a valid EPUB. And then you would check that EPUB to make sure that it is valid at validatorIDPDF.org. And once you upload the file as an EPUB, because an EPUB is just basically a zip file, right? That is readable by mobile devices, which is typically standard. So you have EPUB 1 all the way up now to EPUB 3, which all retailers are now taking EPUB 3. So you want to basically go ahead and do that. And that's the simple way in which you're going to be able to take your digital file and create your digital file to go on the other digital retailers. And in order to get your book into CreateSpace, all you've got to do is to head into the members area, go ahead, download the Amazon CreateSpace template, and follow the video. And the video will show you exactly how to add in your content to make sure that it's going to be acceptable by CreateSpace. It's a very, very simple process. And then once you're done doing that, of course, you want to make sure that you head over to acx.com and you make sure that your content, well, you are in the cooking stage. So normally stuff like that does not really do well in an audio format. I have seen people sell books that, cookbooks in audio, but they won't be doing really a lot more. What you'd probably want to do is, because your book is kind of show and tell, kind of, DIY kind of, because you're telling a person what to do in terms of creating a recipe, you could create what is known as an enhanced ebook, which would be able to add both audio and video to your particular book. So you can do that as a method, and then of course you know that Amazon, of course, has their own section that they deal with in terms of what you would call enhanced ebooks. So I think they have their own enhanced, and I might need to Google it. So I might Amazon Kindle audio and I think video books. I think Kindle audio video books. Here we go. And right, Kindle editions with audio and video. So they have an entire section that deals with audio and video. So for those of us who don't actually know, when you create an enhanced ebook, which is an EPUB 3, that you can just add an image, add a video, and add, of course, add a video, and of course add any kind of audio. It's a very, very easy thing to do. It's not extremely difficult. In fact, we do have training on that. I'm trying to remember exactly where that training is, but that's what would probably fit your book a little bit better instead of going audio. But you can go into paperback and you can go into audio visual and still see quite a bit of profits there. And it's a very, very simple process.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Now, can I ask another
Barbara,
quick
go ahead.
question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it has to do with publishing insurance, because my book is actually a series of books. I think I have 8 or 9 right now, and they're all under like the same theme. But I wanted to, because I, opened a little LLC to cover this, what I wanted to do was get business. More importantly, I wanted to get publishing insurance. And I searched around and I found the International Independent Publishers Association. But even so, it seems a little pricey. Do you guys offer that, or do you know, is there a
Okay, so insurance, like any type of insurance, is it's based on, I guess, the level of risk that you're talking about. And it's a tricky situation. We don't use publishing insurance, and there are a couple of reasons why we don't do that. If we're trying to protect our own content, then we go through the copyright laws that exist. Now, globally, the reality here is that what you're trying to do and say is that, okay, well, if someone copies my book and then, this happens or X, Y, and Z, and the reality here is that just use copyright. The laws exist already to preclude individuals from doing that. To me, that kind of insurance, to me, is overkill. I'm not saying that there might not be a case for it in the future, right? But if you're building your publishing business right now, what you would want to do is that every penny that you have, and this is what I did when I started out, and I've said this over and over again, and I know it just cannot be said enough. Every penny that you have now should be concentrated in content acquisition. Content acquisition is critical for you to build your publishing business, right? So if you have adequate content, then there is nothing that you can't do in terms of building your business. When you spend $250 or $300 or $400 to acquire one single manuscript, just make sure that that manuscript can be deliverable in multiple formats. So you purchase that manuscript, you acquire that content, make sure that the content can go into paperback, audio, audio-visual, an app, any kind of method that you can deliver that content to people. That's what you want to make sure that you purchase that content, that type of content. So don't purchase a picture book. because a picture book would not really help, right? And it's a specific type of content. So that won't do well in an audio format and might possibly not do well in, of course, audio visual, might possibly not do well in an app format. So there's no way for you to adequately leverage that particular content. What you want to do is start off with purchasing content that you can leverage and get the most out of it. So when your book is in all of those formats, you stand to possibly earn a way lot more than what you would earn by just having the Kindle format available, right? So that is one of the things that you've got to look on. And it's the same cost for that content, and it's minuscule in terms of a cost to actually convert it into the other formats. So what you want to do is be able to leverage that content and acquire more and more content as you go on and as you build your business, so that thinking about stuff like that is really and truly not critical to, revenue. At that particular point in time, it's just an expense that you're going to add. Who is to say, of course, in the next 60 months or next 36 months that you've grown to a particular point that you might say that it would be necessary, right? But that's a discussion that you would definitely have to have with your business, your business partner, whoever that person is, or your accountant, to really and truly weigh the importance of having that and to really drill down on the CBA and the cost-benefit analysis of doing that. Because you don't want to go ahead and take up a new expense right now when you really want to begin content acquisition as the key thing that you want to be doing.
I see. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate it.
Awesome, Barbara. No problem. Stick around. More questions and answers to come, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Okay, guys, so not seeing any more hands. Oh, Pat. Okay, awesome, Pat. Great. Great. So I'm going to unmute you. I know that there's some people who don't have a mic, so I'm going to actually get to those questions after I've answered Pat's questions. So stick around so we can get to those written queries first. Okay, Pat, go ahead. Shoot. You are on. Pat, your hand is up. Okay. Let me check if you're okay. Great. Let me head down here. Okay, great. Okay, Pat. Please go through your exact process for hiring graphics designers for your zero content book, and how do you format your PDF? Okay, so I think I sent that the link for Speedy Book Editor. Let me see if I can go ahead and get that back. Speedy Book Editor, and I'll go ahead and send you this link here. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat box so possibly everyone can see. So when you head there, Pat, you're going to basically see this is how we format our books. We start off with Microsoft Word. Now, of course, if you have that book in a PDF format, you can watch towards the end of the video where we actually show you. I think if I hit the play button here, and I was to head closer to the end, right? So, okay, so this is our testing to make sure that it works well with CreateSpace, and we tested on CreateSpace, of course. Right. So right here is what you're basically seeing, how we're checking in terms of the profiles, what is known as pre-flight. So we make sure that we go ahead and do that primarily. That's very, very, very important. In terms of hiring someone, there are a couple of places that I normally go to, right? Initially, I'd go to whether it's Elance or Odesk. But there is something that you want to make sure that you understand. Do not hire someone as a graphic designer that you are going to have to add more time to the process for. It's just not worth it. Too many members have come in and said to me, okay, well, Colin, I found a really, really great illustrator. They're doing my illustrations. So, they send those illustrations over to me and I've got this going. So I've gotten my children's books putting together. No, you don't want to do that. What you want to actually happen is that you want to find the person who can put together the complete project for you. you don't want to find someone who is going to actually go ahead and give you the single images or the single pages, and then you have to go ahead and compile that book. The entire process is, is going to take a lot away from your time, which you don't want. You want to be thinking about discovery, and you want to be thinking about marketing and retailing, and that's what you need to be thinking about, the end result. So what you want to do is find an economical way to do this. So you need to find the person who you're going to hire, who is going to do this. They have to be, and I mean absolutely have to be, able to provide you with the end product. The way how I found Suzette and James and the other guys who work with me, all of these guys, I found them going to conferences and author conferences and book conferences, and I was able to connect with them and then bring them into the team. And that was typically the way. You've got to find someone, and I could find these people on Elance. That's the reality, because they all were on Elance. It was just the fact that I was not looking or putting out the right job for that. But I don't want to go on Fiverr to find someone who is going to create an image, a single illustration for me. And granted, it might be, less cost, but who is going to sit down and put all of that together? And the time it's going to take. I can give, Suzette as the creative director, and I can say, Suzette, here's what I want in a children's book, and I need this within X days. And when she comes back to me, the book is properly formatted, CMYK formatted. The cover is created for both CreateSpace and the Lightning Source. And then I can take that PDF, and then I can turn that PDF into a digital book if I desire. And I can have that published. This takes me a week where I don't have to concentrate on anything like that. I can talk to my staff and say, create a book detail file, and they'll create a book detail file, which gives me everything in terms of about the author, a book description, etc., and then I can go ahead and publish it. Now, all of that might come up to roughly around $450, right? And that includes the book detail file and all of that, which I could have done myself, which I did in the early days. But the key was to find someone who can give you the end product, not someone who can give you pieces of that product, and you're still going to have to, at the end of the day, put that together. Then you're going to have to think about, okay, retail. How am I going to retail this? What is the strategy behind this? You would have taken that entire week that you would have been taking to put it all together to do all of that. And sometimes it really and truly takes you just that one particular start. Just get that start off. Just get that one book off. And then when the sales start to come in, then you can begin to leverage your revenue. And it's one of the reasons why we created Kindle Booster, because a lot of our members are still, heavily dependent on Amazon Kindle as part of their revenue. And we've been using the search string query for a very long time, and it has served us well. And as a result of that, we're kind of opening that up for everyone now, that they can actually get in on using the search string query, which is what we actually use as part of our marketing and discovery efforts. So let me head down. Pat, I hope that yes, please go through exact process for hiring graphic design. Right, so it's just going to Elance and possibly saying on Elance, you need someone to create and to put together a children's book, to do illustrations or utilize pre-made illustrations in order to do this. And once you get those individuals coming in, the one thing that you must ensure is that you can contact that person on Skype. You have to develop a good rapport with that particular person. You have to connect with that person. You've got to be able to connect with them. If not, then you're going to have a problem. You don't want to be in a case where you speak to that person, they don't comprehend what you're saying, they tell you they comprehend, and then when you get back, then they get back to you with something it's not what you entirely wanted. So you've got to be able to have a good rapport with that person. And in essence, you want to create something that's quality content that will always sell. Very, very important. You've got to make sure that that happens. Okay. Right. In Speedy Book Editor, this will show you exactly what to do in terms of formatting. Okay, Cricket. What format do you use for zero content books so people can type it in their own information? Okay, so we actually didn't create a a template for Microsoft Word for zero content. But I am definitely going to scribble that down. I'm doing that now because let's see if we can probably do that. Zero content template for MS Word. That's key. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scribble that down. Thanks a lot for that, Cricket. Definitely a good idea. That will clearly help a lot of people. Right, so we don't really use that. It's typically based, as I said before, our creative director just creates what she's creating. She does a really awesome job of it, and I mean, I encourage you, if that's something that you should look into. That makes a lot of sense, and it's zero profit on our side because we don't make any profits on that whatever. It's over on the side of 24-Hour Covers and eBook Cover Factory, and those are the three guys who have crewed up their entire business. And if they were going to do a zero content book for someone, they're selling it at $350 to $400 for just the ordinary book itself. And then of course, if the person wants the inner files, they charge more. Why? I don't know. Because what are you going to do with the inner files, right? So, but they would charge more. And so for us getting it at almost, 25% of what it is that they would normally charge or what they do charge to the general public is a real steal. So that in and of itself, I said to you before, it's not something that we at Speedy Publishing do get any profits from. It's just for our members to make sure that they can actually get it at a reasonable price and that they can start seeing some good positive ROI on what it is that we're doing. Okay. Right. Okay. Zero content books only be print, not Kindle. Until I think that HTML5 and I think EPUB 3 delivery is going to be able to use pretty much like those PDAs where you can actually scribble on. Until we have that functionality going in electronic books, then zero content books are really only for the print market. If you're going to make sure that you listen in for this week's lesson, and all our lessons are pre-recorded. We shoot our lessons on Thursday. I send that out to Arturo and the tech guys. They go ahead and edit it to try and get it as clean as possible. If anything I messed up on, they'll come back to me and say, Colin, do you want to make sure this is in? And I typically go about an hour or a little over an hour in all of the lessons. And the reason for this is because we don't run a live webinar because there are kind of too many distractions, and we want to make sure that the lesson goes smoothly. This week's lesson is on pamphlets. Very, very big thing. You want to definitely be aware of that. Pamphlets are big business, and they're almost akin to zero content books. So zero content only for print, not for digital. Okay, sorry, no microphone. Question is about language translation. In some of my children's books are rhyming books. Okay, how will we translate into other languages? Is it worth it, or will it be a jumbled mess to be lost in translation? Okay, so this is one of the key things that we wanted to point out. You always want to make sure that if you're doing a children's book, which is typically limited content in the number of words, you want to go ahead and translate it. Now, that being said, you have to find an individual who will be able to translate your book in relative terms, right? In proper diction for that particular language. Rhymes, of course, can work if you give it to that person and you discuss with that person who is, at least semi-fluent and, can speak English pretty well. But of course, their mother tongue is that particular language that you're translating in. You want to go ahead and do that. We do have an arrangement with the guys over at 1 Hour Translation. So there are kind of two levels of 1 Hour Translation. Primarily, when you go in, you're not. I would probably say a primary member or a major member. They have two different levels. Everyone in Speedy Publishing is supposed to be a primary member. So if you're a member here and you've not been bumped up, just go ahead and email the help desk. Nadine or Tracy will get back to you in making sure that you are bumped up on 1 Hour Translation. What this basically means is that as a primary member, you're really getting access to all the good people. And you do have individuals who come here who are a little bit less than stellar. So you're going to be able to get all of the higher quality translators. Then you can, of course, begin a discussion with them and let them know what your situation is, where it's a rhyming book, and you want to make sure that you can keep those rhymes kind of into what it is that you're doing, even if it kind of takes away from the overall thrill or of the book itself. This is one of the things that we encountered. We did a book which was a children's book called Jokes for Kids, and we did that book, and we were encountering a similar problem where we were thinking that, well, humor in in the U.S. might not translate to humor in France or Spain, or in the U.K. for that matter. So because of that issue, we had to reach out to the translator. And once we logged in and we reached out to the translator, we said, okay, well, look, this is what we have. You speak English, so it might be funny to you. How do we get it translated to be funny to that particular person? And you work with that translator, and you speak with that translator to make sure you get the desired result. Now, of course, it might cost you a little bit extra, right? But the key here is it's all about leverage. Because if you leverage that book, you're talking about your children's book, which is, of course, in the digital format, now being, let's say, it's in Spanish. So it's now in a digital format for Spanish. Then you're going to have your Joke for Kids or your rhyming book in English that's now going to be in print. So you're going to have the English digital, English print. And you're going to have Spanish digital, and then you're going to have Spanish print. You can also now leverage that to go into audio visual or audio to go along with that particular print. And then you can, of course, create what is known as an app where you can, of course, start delivering dynamic content. I encourage everyone, if you're creating children's content, to always learn about creating apps. Apps are going to allow you to drive. You're going to be able to drive individuals to purchase your app because your app is going to allow you to deliver dynamic content. With an app, you can deliver content over and over and over, and you can continue to earn each time you create that content. And then on the short side of it, when you create that content, you can use that very same content to create different volumes of your book. So understanding the whole app feature is something that you definitely want to kind of get a hold of. But for this particular instance, you've got to speak to your translator and make sure that your translator understands what it is that you're trying to achieve, and make sure that they adhere to it. And always use a proofreader to make sure that you're getting what it is that you want, because while we trust everyone, I mean, you start off thinking that the person is going to be, upfront. Because we're not native speakers of the language, then we might actually be getting garbled, and we would never know we're getting garbled. So typically, I'll hire, a proofreader to proofread content for me that is translated randomly. So I'll give them, if I have 10 pages, I'll give them page 3, page 7, page 9, and I'll send that over to them, and then they will go ahead and proofread that. If they come back to me and say, loads of errors, then I know that that particular person has obviously shafted me. But normally, once you're in a higher level with one-hour translation and you're getting the creme de la creme, so to speak, you would not have that issue. I've never had, something come back as an issue. Well, all I've basically said is that we want to make sure that this appeals to the individuals who are living in that country and the target market that we have. So that should kind of help in terms of it being a jumbled mess. You have to speak to your translator. Work with your translator, and then, of course, vet it with a proofreader. Not everything with a proofreader. They'll try to upsell you to tell you have a proofreader read everything. Just have a proofreader go through a few random pages just to make sure. And then if anything goes awry, you come back and you can say to the translator, hey, look, this obviously is not stellar. Or proofreader came back with errors like these. Please go over and do this again. And then they don't want it showing up as a black mark on their account with one-hour translation. So they'll definitely, make a good run at it and make sure that it works out well. So that's typically all you've got to do. But speak with your translator to make sure that you get the desired result that you want. and they can tell you if it can work and or otherwise. And they're pretty good at what what they do. So if you have an issue, I mean, if you're not set up in that particular way as a primary customer for one-hour translation, please go ahead, drop the help desk a line, and we'll go ahead and email our friends over at One Hour Translation to make sure that your account is bumped up. Please include your account, your name, your login name, so that we can make sure that we have that as well. Okay. 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 Thanks for sharing knowledge about publishing. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay. Okay. Right. The pros and the cons of using the CreateSpace ISBN numbers. Okay. So we get this a lot. And there are issues that you can't actually, you don't want to use CreateSpace for a number of reasons. CreateSpace ISBN, CreateSpace is, it's a subsidiary of Amazon. Amazon is a major retailer. Amazon, of course, competes against other retailers, both retailers who are brick and mortar and other online retailers, right? And so CreateSpace themselves, just by being a subsidiary, are an extension of Amazon. If I'm a bookseller, then I will not, put a CreateSpace published book in my store. It would be ridiculous because I would be supporting the competition. And that transcends across the board. Companies like Barnes & Noble will never, ever stock a CreateSpace ISBN book in their brick-and-mortar stores. They won't. And the reason for this is that they will not support Amazon in what it is that they're doing. They're not going to support a competitor. They're not going to list that book in their stores. And that's just what they've taken the issue with. Neither will Books A Million. Neither, I think, Walmart has taken that stance as well. The other retail giants who do sell print books all the time. So those companies won't stock it. So why would you do that? And one of the things that we have complained, and I discussed this with some of the guys at BEA, and I didn't get a straight answer, and I'm just going to put it out there so that you can actually determine it on your own. I said to CreateSpace, I said, look, if I go through expanded distribution, you're telling me that I am required to utilize a CreateSpace ISBN. Now, when I go into expanded distribution, it is anticipated that my book will be made available to libraries, to all these other book resellers, etc., etc. Do you not know that many book retailers, and book resellers refuse to hold, books that use a CreateSpace ISBN? Is it not kind of disingenuous that you are kind of peddling this and you know that, the book resellers won't take it? And they said they didn't know about that, right? So they said they didn't know about it. And I said, really? And they were like, well, we don't know. I said, well, let's just choose a particular example. Do you not know that Barnes & Noble will not stock, in their brick and mortar stores anything that has a CreateSpace ISBN? And the guy said he would have to go and investigate that. He wasn't aware of this, which I know is absolutely rubbish because everyone else who I've spoken to at CreateSpace did know about it. And they had said that it was Barnes & Noble's stance, and that's what they do. And there's nothing that they can do about that. But it's disingenuous on their part to offer expanded distribution, require that you only can use a CreateSpace ISBN, knowing that your book will not really go much further than possibly Amazon in Europe and some other Amazon-related websites. So in my opinion, it's always best to utilize an ISBN. Now, an ISBN can cost, let's see, my identifiers, and I'll go ahead and head over to this particular site. Now, an ISBN is going to cost you $125 for one ISBN, right? So this is a problem, right? It's kind of prohibitive to do this. Now, Booker has started to do a lot of other stuff. So they've partnered with vanity publishing companies, Smith Publicity, DigiWrite, etc., etc. And this is just as of late. This is something that's very, very recent. The reason behind this is that they know that not many people are buying ISBNs at $125 a pop. They don't want to do this. And they have to find a way to generate revenue. In the past, they were making a killing doing this. Not so anymore. So what we are basically doing here when we offer you a Speedy Publishing ISBN, even though you have to list Speedy Publishing as the publishing company, it makes sense because we're already out there, and it will give you an opportunity because we're not competing with retailers and book resellers. So you will have a much better chance of stocking that. Plus, we don't give you the option of saying 125 bucks for one particular ISBN, which I have complained bitterly over of it being absolutely ridiculous when in Canada, if you're an author, you can go to the Canadian Publishers Association, I think it is, and obtain an ISBN absolutely free. You don't, all you have to do is say you're an author and you're from Canada and prove that you're a Canadian, and you know, you get an ISBN absolutely free. That is registered to you. So for all our Canada members who did not know this, that is something that is there, and you know, and I'll do a nugget on that, you know, at some time to kind of let you know. But the ISBN is critical, as you said before. Booker themselves uses something known as Bookwire. So I'll go ahead and go to Bookwire here. If you are on Bookwire here, your book will end up almost everywhere. So there's two things that I need everyone to kind of figure out here. The way how these companies work. And I'm going to look on a company like Goodreads. So if I go to goodreads.com, and this is just key and critical why you need to have an ISBN. So if I go to goodreads.com, and I'm logging in here, and I decide to look for, let's say, a particular book, any particular book. So let me go ahead and just choose one. I'll go ahead and choose Stories of Murder, Crime, and Mayhem. And I went here, right? Let me click on this. Love this cover. And I decided to say, okay, well, I wanted to go ahead and purchase this particular book. Goodreads themselves do not sell the content, right? They don't sell the book. They only provide you with a link to buy the book. But the way how they got the information to load the book here comes from places like Bookwire by Booker. So what Bookwire does is that they have an entire feed. That feed is based on your metadata and, more importantly, your ISBN. So your information is fed into a website like Goodreads. Now, once it's fed into Goodreads, then it appears here. Goodreads now becomes what is known as the affiliate. So Goodreads will say, okay, now we've gotten all these books in because we have ISBNs and we have metadata. We're now going to say, can we buy this book on Barnes & Noble or Kobo eBooks or Amazon? So if the person clicks on Barnes & Noble to look for the particular book, it will search based on the ISBN, and it will find that particular book, right? So we, of course, changed this cover. It hasn't been updated on Barnes & Noble, slow as they are. So the key here is that if someone goes ahead and buys this particular book here, what will end up happening is that Goodreads will be paid a commission. So if you think about it, Booker, through their feed, just by having that ISBN, you're going to hundreds and hundreds and thousands of affiliates who operate sites just like Goodreads. And at the time when the person decides to purchase that book, what will end up happening is that by clicking that link, this affiliate, which is Goodreads, will get paid, but more importantly, you are the author and your book will be sold and you will also be paid. But you can't get into that feed into Booker without having an ISBN. So you've got to have that ISBN. And this doesn't just apply to digital. If we were to go to a company like half.com, and I was going to go to Bookwire, and let's go Speedy Publishing. And I'm going to go ahead and look on Speedy Publishing here. and I should look typically on, let me try Speedy Publishing LLC. And Bookwire is kind of, you know, very, very weird. So let's go ahead and let me kind of look for an example and just call out an example here. So let's try the Wanderings in Sudan. So my Wanderings in Sudan. And I was to go to a website such as half.com, and I was to look for Wanderings in Sudan. Okay, so here we go, which is a paperback book. Now, what you're actually seeing here is that this book appears at half.com. Did this author or did this publisher go to half.com and list their book? No, they did not. What they basically did was to ensure that they had an ISBN. It was registered with Booker or Bookwire. Their content went out into Books into Print. And more importantly, they were able to access getting on this particular website. And this was key and critical. So that means that an individual can come here, you can come here and sell your copy. And a person can actually go ahead and purchase a copy here. And this is very, very important. As you can see, there are 2 copies being sold, one by Brand New Goods, us, and one by Extremely Reliable. And this is very, very important here, guys. So you want to make sure that you have access to this particular type of thing. This is how important your ISBN is, because those affiliates are going to be driving sales dramatically for your content. You don't want to be left out in the cold. And if you use a CreateSpace related ISBN, typically it will not appear here. Even though we have gone into Bookwire and we have seen CreateSpace ISBNs appear. So I can look for CreateSpace, and I can possibly find different ones that are here as well. So you've got CreateSpace Independent Publishing. You've got that information here at the same time. You've got other ones that are here for CreateSpace. We have not seen those particular books appear at other major affiliates. And that's something that is very noteworthy. So you've got to be very, very careful about using that CreateSpace. And I'm not sure why it also appears in this particular way either. It's just not cool. It's just not cool, and that's the reality. And this is a publication date from May, and then there's still no cover listed. I don't know. That is not. It's just something that we would not typically do, and then you won't get the opportunity to head into all those other affiliates, and you don't want to get messed up in that particular issue. So the simpler way: purchase an ISBN from us for $2.99, right? And then once you purchase that ISBN, you can go ahead and ascribe it to that particular book. It will get into Bookwire, right, or by extension what is known as Books in Print, or BOCO. And then, of course, other affiliates will start to take advantage of it. And that's typically what it is that you want. If you try to utilize your, no ISBN, you will not have the advantage of this. And that's the bottom line. It's just not, you're not going to be able to see that many sales, and you can use that ISBN. So when you're doing your press releases, which are free by the way, if you write your own press release in Speedy Publishing, add your ISBN to it. Get your ISBN published so that people can start finding it, and that your book can start getting marketed as quickly as possible. Okay, Pat, I hope that helps. Very important. Very, very important. Okay, is there a way for more than one code? James, I'm not sure what you're asking here. A way for more than one code? Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Okay, can I ask you about publishing exclusively on Amazon KDP across all platforms, visibility and profitability? Okay, we don't advocate publishing on Amazon primarily. However, we do realize that it is a very daunting task for everyone to kind of invest the time, the energy, and possibly a few dollars to get your content formatted correctly in order for you to reach all platforms. So this is, of course, concerning to us. It is the reason why we created Kindle Booster. Now, as a company, it is important for us to actually go ahead and handle a couple of things. Sorry about that, guys. Just chipped out. Okay, so we were here talking about. Can you just more about possible changes at Amazon? Okay, more questions. Okay, right. So exclusively on Amazon KDP, we do that a little bit. It depends on the content that we're producing. If we're producing a particular book on, say, A or topic A, we might decide at that particular point in time to go with KDP Select. And the way how we do this is the only reason why we do this is because we want to rank very well for that particular keyword term at the time. So Kindle Booster is something that we've been using, and I can go ahead and explain it to you exactly how Kindle Booster works. So let me go ahead and pause that video. If you head to Kindle Booster, you're going to actually see we did a short video to kind of explain exactly what it is. We use something known as a search string query, and using the search string query, we're able to get our books ranked. And this is courtesy of James Jones of the Net Results. Brilliant, brilliant guy. He taught us this particular strategy last year, and we were able to put it to good use. But one of the things that we found was that many people were actually going into forums and saying, okay, well, you know, can you go ahead and do this? Can you go ahead and do that? The problem with that for us was that there was no steady stream, and we were creating content at an alarmingly fast rate. And hence, we needed to ensure that we found people who were going to download our existing books. And so we created something known as Kindle Booster, where we hired individuals who are from, you know, from Craigslist, and we hired up to 100 guys at the time. And they weren't there to leave any kind of, you know, any kind of review. We specifically forbade them to leave reviews. We said, do not leave any reviews. We don't want reviews. What we want you to do is to verify that our book is legible. Whether you're downloading it through Kindle for PC or you're downloading it on your actual device, you've got to use this particular link in order to get to this particular point, or we are not going to be able to register you as a download. So we use them typically as proofreaders. And what they would do is that using that search string query link, and I should say if I can actually find, for those of us who don't know about the search string query link, there is a website that we have which is known as a sister website, which is called 12 by 12 Steps. And this typically kind of shows you exactly what it is that we do in our day-to-day business. It's a step-by-step guide, and we use what is known as a PERT chart. So typically, as you can see here in step 1, we go through niche research, title research, author description. Then we go through stacking, source the content, cover creation, and then we use what is known as creating a search string, right? And that search string helps us to get ranked in Amazon. And we would, of course, put the book to go free, and then we would have these individuals downloaded. And it's kind of explained here. When you click on the PERT chart, it takes you to the exact video. It takes you to the page, and then you have the redirect code, and then you download the search string report. Now, this is for 12 by 12 Steps to Publishing Success. We haven't kind of expounded on this in Speedy Publishing because typically Speedy Publishing is a little bit more about multi-platform publishing. Of course, I will, for anybody who wants to kind of, you know, learn a little bit more about the search string method, I'll try and see if I can go ahead and get this video posted on probably Speedy Publishing or regular members area so that everyone can actually see this, because the search string, you know, strategy has been out for quite some time. The problem why people can't take advantage of it is because they didn't have the number of individuals to download their content, which was a big issue. So what we did was that we created our own army to download for us in the early days. And when we put out a book, we would probably get 50, 60 downloads using a particular keyword. And it was literally on demand for us because we had the individuals who were hired into us. And all we said to them was that, look, we need you to proofread the book and tell us exactly if that book is legible on your device. And then, of course, tell us the last 2 words in that particular book. And we hired on all these people, and they've kept and stayed with us for quite some time. And once that happened, we were doing tremendously well. And we still are doing tremendously well. So a lot of our members have kind of complained. In fact, one particular member has really said that, you know, she was in a real bind She joined in a monthly membership. She wanted to join in, lifetime membership. I told her that that's absolutely fine. We'll hold that open for her. And then she fell on even more hard times. And she called me and explained to me her situation. So, I was able to say to her, well, let's see what we can do. And Kindle Booster is something that we've had that we really didn't open up to everyone. But no, I can see that a lot of our members are very Kindle-centric. And maybe at this particular stage, maybe it's good to open this up. So KDP Select, the only reason why we use KDP Select is to use it with this particular strategy, not to give away my book, because giving away 10,000 copies of my book will do nothing for me. That's the reality of the situation. Unless I intend to try and have Amazon email those people, which is a totally different strategy all to itself, which you can utilize. But the reality here is if I have no intention of doing something with KDP Select where it's going to be benefiting me other than just giving the book away for free and saying or hoping that I'm going to be, shooting up in the rankings, that won't work. So, that is the case in point there. So the only reason why I would use KDP Select is to do this. And I would always ensure that I have my paperback book and my audiobook attached. Because once you start to move up in the rankings, you'll find that when a person does an all search for books in books, your book and your Kindle book will help to drag your paperback book up in the rankings for particular terms. And that's what we've seen. So it's important to always, immediately once you get your Kindle book up there, to get your paperback book up there. Do not, use KDP Select unless you are getting something really, really out with it. And of course, Kindle Booster will be ready on August 19. It's a very, very simple process. Again, all we do is that we pay each particular person for a download. And again, it's non-profit because it's something that we're doing. All we're doing is just extending it to our members here. So we pay each person for a proofread, and that's it. And once a person proofreads the book, in fact, I think there are a couple of members who wanted to be a part of Kindle Booster who have emailed and said, okay, well, how do I start to earn by proofreading books for other people? So, there's also, an earning opportunity right there, and it still keeps you in the mix. And again, it's only available to Speedy members, so it's not going to be available to anybody else. But if you want to rank for a term such as, say, thyroid diet, all you've got to do is you're going to be able to log in with your Speedy Publishing login. You're going to be able to select your keyword, give us the URL for your book on Amazon, and we will create the search string. You don't have to do anything like that. And all you do is that you're going to see a list of available dates on which you're going to be able to download your particular book, or when you're going to actually place your book for free, sorry. And then you select that date when it's available, and then you go over into your Amazon Kindle account, and then you just set the date for it to go free. And then it will appear to all our proofreaders on that particular day. They'll be able to click it, they'll see that it's free, and they'll be able to download it. And they already know the exact training method of downloading the book through the search string query report. Through the search string query. So you won't, there's no need to train anybody. There's no need to find anybody. Just put some advertising budget down for that because you want to rank. And within probably 5 to 10 to even maximum I've actually seen is 14 days, your book will shoot up in the rankings. So again, it's just something that will help you to earn more royalties, and it's an ROI issue across the board. So once this goes live for you, it will be, it'll be a critical thing. But as far as KDP Select, if I'm not doing anything like this, I'm not doing KDP Select. My book is in every single platform I can possibly think of, from Overdrive to Apple to strangely enough, I think Booktopia. For those of us who are, of course, in Australia and in the oceanic regions, Booktopia, our books are as far as Booktopia in every region. So that's what you really want. The more places your book, lives, is the more likely that your book can be sold. Even on half.com, as you can see. You can actually, if your print book was in half.com with that particular ISBN, you could go to half.com, register, sell your book for possibly, $2 to $3 more, and then do the fulfillment through CreateSpace. So when a person buys your book on half.com, if a person goes here, and let's say this is your book and you decide to sell your own copy, you can sell your own copy by putting in all this information here. When the person purchases that particular book, all you do is head over to CreateSpace and you buy a copy of your own book. And when you buy a copy of your own book, you can then choose the exact address where you want to ship it. So when a purchase triggers here, you can use CreateSpace to offer that fulfillment. And that's typically how easy it is and how important it is for you to do things like this. So you can sit down and get an email from half.com saying that your book, 2 copies of your book was sold. And then you just head over into CreateSpace and you just say boom, 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 CreateSpace deliver these books to person A, B, C, or D. And that would be it. As simple as it gets. So yeah, that's the important side of it, because it all adds up, right? So if you had 50 sales of your, or 100 sales of your paperback, 100 sales of your digital, say 100 sales of your audio, the reality here is that you're in a good stead for just one publication. So again, that becomes really and truly important to you. So if you're only on Kindle, I don't know. You're not going to have those opportunities available to you at all. Okay, so all right, so let's say Amazon Kindle. Hope that answers your question. Can you please talk more about the possible coming changes at Amazon and how it will affect small publishers? Okay, so Amazon is very cagey about what they're doing in terms of how they're working out with what the DOJ has, and the DOJ and the Apple lawsuit. Here's a problem with that. If those agreements that Apple has with the major publishing companies is thrown under the bus, so to speak, and they're no longer considered in the best interest of the public, then obviously that same agreement that Amazon has with those publishers would also be considered not in the best interest of the public. So in keeping them, Amazon would of course be setting themselves up for an obvious or inevitable, lawsuit or legal action to be taken against them by the plaintiff, the Department of Justice in the U.S. That being said, if the judge decides to put those agreements with Apple and the major publishers asunder, Amazon will have no choice but to follow suit. If they do follow suit, the major publishing companies will not want to go forward without Amazon, and not have their content listed on Amazon. So they're going to have to say, okay, well, Amazon, your digital content will clearly be able to go for free. If that go into our system, Amazon will say, we'll take your content, but we have to take your content and price it the way how we want to price it, right? And we want to drive the price down to 99 cents. So that's typically what's going to happen, and that's what we believe, and that's what we feel. And if Amazon does this, and you start seeing books by Simon & Schuster, and you start seeing books by Macmillan and Hachette and Harlequin being sold at 99 cents in the market, there is little way that an unknown self-publisher can actually compete against these companies. Here's the reason why. Companies like Amazon and Apple have an entire department known as merchandising. Now, we already know that it would be stupid of us to believe that Amazon allows their algorithm to do all rankings. It's stupid of us to believe that even Google, as a search engine, allows their algorithm to do all rankings and changes nothing. So when people are actually looking for bestsellers, bestsellers are never always based on the number of sales. It can be something that is tweaked by Amazon in their own system. So don't be fooled and think that a bestseller can really be a bestseller. The fact of the matter is that the merchandiser or the merchandising department at Amazon Inc. can determine whether or not they want to put a book or push a book on their customers. That's what they do. So they push their book on the customers. So the reality here is that the algorithm is not always in charge. That determines the ranking and whether or not the book reaches bestseller status. So Amazon will do what they want to do. And if they decide to place those books at 99 cents and then they decide to determine what happens on their algorithm in terms of the number of sales, it's not going to be very cinematic. It's going to become even that much harder for us to compete as self-publishers with those particular books. What it does mean is that we need to become, a lot smarter in how we're going about publishing by ensuring that we tap into as many revenue streams as possible and not just electronic or digital revenue streams. We cannot limit ourselves to just doing what people are saying, Kindle, 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 ebooks, ebooks, ebooks. They're print books, they're pamphlets, they're zero content books. There's so many other ways for you to definitely capitalize through publishing using your own ISBNs, selling books on half.com just because you have an ISBN, selling and putting your books through LSI, right? You can begin the whole process of the used books. There are things that many people that I know who are doing right now who are going to places that target used books. So books that are being sold on, on let's say Powell's Books, which is typically for used books. Individuals are going on Powell's Books, are selling their own books, which are brand new from CreateSpace at a dramatic discount, right? They price up their book on Amazon, and then they sell their books through Powell's as a used but brand new or in extremely good condition. And they're peddling these books on Powell's. Now what's happening is that there are people who are actively looking for that book or any kind of book like that and buying all those books and then going to Amazon and then selling it at a discounted rate. So what the person has effectively done is that they've chopped the cost because they know they can sell the book at 50% off. So what they've done is that they've taken that 50% that they're getting from CreateSpace. They are pricing their book at 75% of the actual price that is being sold on Amazon and selling that book to Powell's as a used book at a 25% discount. A person will come in and still buy that book thinking that they're getting an almost brand new book, and then that person will of course attempt to sell that same book on Amazon at a discounted rate. Therein is the entire situation. If you're selling your book, if you wanted to sell your book on Amazon FBA, you could not, and you had it in CreateSpace, you could not undersell CreateSpace. It's against the CreateSpace terms of service. So by selling it to Powell's and getting 25% in bulk, you're able to sell 10, 20, 30 of your books at a 75% rate by just placing it there. So there are many, many different ways that you can really and truly profit. And we talk about, there are just too many ways to kind of do it, talk about, in one day. And that's an impossibility, kind of. So we try and kind of, let it out there over a particular time period when we think that everyone can be able to take advantage of it, right? So hopefully, these things, in my opinion, they'll never go away. We have new conferences in December. We ourselves are going to be at BEA 2014 as an exhibitor, which is awesome for us. So at the end of the day, we already know 90% of what we're doing and what we're talking about has been done over the last 24 to 36 months, and it will never go away again. So what you're learning now, try and concentrate mainly on trying to make as much money as you can now and not focusing on Amazon per se. Amazon is only a single retailer. when companies such as Walmart and companies such as Walgreens and Target get into selling electronic books, then what Amazon is doing now is going to be dwarfed. And that time is coming. We're in close contact with the guys at ReaderLink, and that technology is almost going to be in place. And when that technology goes into place, what exactly, is going to happen at the end of the day? You've got to be able to get yourself into these types of retailers as soon as possible, and get accustomed to the idea of creating content in an EPUB 3 format, an EPUB format that you can get into Target when Target starts selling electronic books. When an individual can walk into Target with their mobile phone and they're seeing offers coming into them that might be based on their Facebook profile. That person can download a book right there in Target. They can download it in Walmart. And just think of the walk-in traffic every day in Walmart stores, globally. And your content being able to be shown to an individual who might be interested in the topic that you have. If you're not geared into that kind of thing, then clearly, when the transition comes, if you're still stuck on Amazon, you won't be able to transition well enough. And eventually what you're doing here, you will not be able to survive any type of change that takes place. So that basically is what we already know, that is coming. We already know if the judge on August 9 determines and says we're throwing out those agreements, Amazon, in our opinion, will have to do the same eventually. And as a result of that, they'll use these books as loss leaders. And so at the end of the day, our books will be competing with 99-cent, books from John Grisham and those other kind of people. And, if a person can buy a John Grisham novel for 99 cents instead of buying it for $15.99, then, there might be more inclined to buy a John Grisham, title. But the key here is that there are many different ways that we can, counteract that in terms of how we're going about doing what we're doing and how many retailers that we're marketing to. So that is typically how it will affect most small publishers. Okay, you're offering to do zero content books for members only on a time-limited basis. Correct. We're going to have to stop doing it, right, eventually. We just extended our Speedy books because we had like about 15 members, saying please, 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 if we could just extend it for a week more. So we did that just because of the ask. Ever tried to communicate with Google or Amazon? There is no way to speak with them in a way you can explain your position. I was banned from using pay-per-click 2 years ago and never been allowed to be heard. Okay, so Google is way different from Amazon. They're even worse than Amazon is. And if you want to basically kind of get a hold of Amazon Kindle, go to the find out when there is an alpha conference that is going to be in your neck of the woods, and if Kindle is going to be attending, and you take yourself there. And I'm going to tell you, it's well worth it. You have got to develop that rapport with a person in there, and they'll be very cagey, right? Because you're not going to be the first person who has attempted to do it, right? But if I believe that you have, if there's no malfeasance, if you intend to do nothing untoward with respect to your own publishing account, then clearly you're going to have a leg to stand on. The reality here is that if you can provide solid proof, then you want to be able to provide solid proof. There are nightmare stories about people who have been publishing on Kindle and their account was banned and they lost thousands. I myself, as an AdSense publisher in the past, I had my AdSense account disabled for some kind of weird reason. And having gotten the email, I was of course taken aback because at the time AdSense was at least 25% of my overall revenue, and so it was of grave concern to me. I did, of course, follow their procedures, go ahead and put in an appeal, right? but not without investigating the issue correctly, properly, and thoroughly. And then I did take myself, and I did look for one of their, they do have, I think it's city to city that they go, and I took myself and I went there. And I looked for where Matt Cutts was going to be at whatever SMX or whatever, and I made it my point of duty to attend. And when I attended, I had all my documentation ready, and I said to him, I made sure that I wrote down what I was going to say, and I made sure I said, look, we did not do anything untoward, and I would really appreciate that someone would be able to take a look into this. And he did say, Matt Cutts did say at the time that it was not, and he gets this all the time, and I'm saying, Matt, if you understand the situation that we're talking about here, who is here in the Google, entire Google, entourage that can speak to this, that can give me more direction on what to do? And he pointed me to a particular person, and it so happened that that particular person was an AdSense employee. And at that time, I was able to make that connection. And I was able to, in this digital age, be able to say, help me, as I sat at the desk, and to apply and go through this entire process. And we looked on it, and she said, okay, well, this is X and Y. And I said, okay, well, I can go ahead and drop you an email. And she said, well, you can send it to General. I said, no, I won't. I said, send it to her. She gave me her email address, and since that time, I've had a good rapport with her. And the case in point here is that some of the times, if you don't want to leave your business to chance, you've got to make the effort. If you really want it to succeed, you've got to put in. So what you put in is what you get out. So you've got to be very, 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 very careful at the end of the day. Just make sure that you can prove that you're not doing anything untoward, literally. If you're not doing anything illegal, you can fight. And I mean fight, but even so, don't let any single organization or company deliver more or, be more than 30%, and even 30% is too high, of your overall revenue. It's a dangerous practice. I would not want Amazon, Kindle, or KDP to be delivering 30% or more of my overall publishing business. It would be almost suicide. So if I was to be cut from Amazon Kindle, then what exactly would happen to my business? In terms of my revenue, what would happen? You've got to grow as a business. You've got to, of course, have retained earnings to reinvest. You don't want to be left in a situation like that. So you just have to be very, 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 very careful. Take care of your business. Don't do anything untoward. Okay. Sensor graphics thing. Unfortunately, we are the ones who obtained the illustrations for the picture book separately. How do we know put the book together? Is one of your formats appropriate for children? Okay, so here's the thing. Elizabeth, here's what I want you to go ahead and do. I am going to put an email here in the group chat. So let me go ahead and I'm going to say it's admin at 24-hour. Our covers, is it 24HR covers.com, and that's the email, and the creative director is Suzette MacPhail. Right, so that's her name, and that's for everyone. So if you have, Elizabeth, the images, go ahead and email Suzette. She can probably help you putting those together. We don't have an actual, formatting that you can do it yourself. What I do suggest is that you work with the professionals. It might cost you a little bit. I don't think it would cost you probably more than $25, to be honest with you. And Suzette is always willing to help. So, reach out to her. I'll go ahead and speak to her once I'm through with this here and let her know that I have put her email out there, and the guys who are on the early bird list will, of course, reach out to her and contact her as well. So that is very, very important. Again, so as I said to you before, just reach out to her. She'll help you. She'll definitely help you in terms of putting your book together. So and again, I'll speak to her just to make sure that she's aware and she looks out for your email as well. And if any problems, please go ahead. Feel free to email the help desk. Nadine and Tracy will definitely help you in that respect as well. Okay. So James. Okay. can a plastic spiral bound to lay flat, okay, done by LSI through Speedy Publishing. Okay, so here's the thing. LSI has come back to me about, let me put it this way. Any Speedy, both CreateSpace and LSI can do pop-outs, they can do spiral bound, they can do anything. The reality here is if a random host goes to CreateSpace and tells CreateSpace that they want spiral bound, CreateSpace will do it. If a company like that goes to LSI and asks them, they'll do it. We've developed a pretty good rapport with LSI in terms of that, because if their printing presses are not set up in this particular way, it's not that they don't do it at all. They'll outsource it. So the reality here is that if we say to them, we want this kind of consideration in terms of spiral bound, they will work with us to do that, but there are going to be obvious contingencies. The first thing is that they're going to tell us that we're going to have to pre-order a lot. So it's going to be based on, okay, well, we can do this for you, but you're going to have to pre-order them. So if you do a print run and you want, say, 150 copies, you're going to have to pay for those 150 copies in spiral bound. So it's not something they typically do now. They used to do it. They've stopped now. So the reality here is that you would have to go to, I think, lulu.com. In my opinion, I think Lulu would be the obvious choice in this case. So I'll go ahead and jump over to lulu.com. I think lulu.com does provide this in a particular way. So if I hit on publish, I'll go to, let's say, books. Great. So you have, of course, the coil bound, and you have perfect bound, saddle stitch, and the coil bound, which is pretty much, I guess, similar to spiral bound, I would probably say. And you are able to choose whichever one you've got here. And you can download this zip file here. Just go ahead and click on that. And let's go ahead, US letter. And then here is the template. So the template pops up here. Strange. I think because I'm logged into this thing, it's not working out. But okay, so typically, let's try and see 8.5, the back, and let's see if this comes up. Okay, so this is typically the cover size, so it kind of gives you the cover size and what should go where in terms of the front and back. So let me try and see if I can open this file again. It's just not opening. See if this works. Okay, here we go. Enable editing. Okay, so pretty much this is the template that you're seeing here. And what really happens here is that you want to look on the presets. So I would go to page layout, because it's the presets that basically matter. So I'd go page layout, page setup. These are the presets that are there. So it's 0.75, 0.75, 0.75 on the outside, and then you've got a 0.35 gutter, right? So this is basically, those are the presets that you're actually going to have. And of course, you can go ahead and order directly through Lulu in order to do this. So if you wanted to go ahead and create that, you could at the end of the day, and you could use Lulu to do that. But herein is one of the issues with Lulu. The problem is that Lulu has a very rigid page count. So you're talking about 1 to 470, right? That's not something that I like very much. It's just not cool. So if I wanted to have a coil bound, I would need 470 pages. This does not work well with other things that you're putting together, right? So this is one of the issues that we do take with Lulu in terms of this, and that's just based on whoever they're printing with. It just is not feasible at the end of the day. So we've got to be very, very careful. So it's just not what we want to look on. You're not going to be able to do that. But for the most part, if you're putting this and you want to put it through Speedy Publishing Co. or distribution arm, this would be a good template to work with. But it's really actually not actually a template. As we said before, it's really just the presets. It's really just these presets here. And typically you can choose, it's showing up on letter here, which it shouldn't even, because if you want to make that here, what you do is go and you would go to custom size. If you want to make your book into a 6x9, you would put 6x9 here, right? So I'm not sure why they have given this here in terms of the presets here, but these are apparently the right presets to use where you've got this glottal, and these are the presets that you want to go ahead and use, James, if you want to create a coil-bound book, right? But I, personally, as I said to you before, those companies will do it, but you're going to have to order, you know, I'd probably say at least 100, which can cost you $200. So you've got to really and truly, you know, talk to that particular company. We can do it on your behalf through Speedy co-distribution. If it's something that you would want, we can hook you up with our LSI contact, and you can speak directly to that particular person and possibly get something going. Of course, you'd have to sign up to LSI, and then you have to make sure that your content is done correctly. If you come through us, it's a little bit easier. So yeah, those companies will do it, but you're going to have to, of course, make the concession to pre-order quite a number of those books from the outset. Okay. Ruby, where are the weekly lessons located on the membership site? Okay, Ruby, here we go. You head into the members area. So once you head into the members page, the weekly lessons that come out are basically placed here. So it goes up on the notice board, and you'll see the weekly lessons that would have come out. You'll be able to look down here, and you will see the lessons that's coming out for this particular week. Ruby, if you signed up, sorry, if you signed up on, I think, the 17th, please go ahead and give me and drop an email to the help desk, because I think you might be attached to speedypublishing.net, which is the program that we had used earlier this month to accommodate some of our members signing up through a service known as Nanocast. We have moved everyone into speedypublishing.com and not speedypublishing.net. If you weren't not actually moved, you might not be seeing this on your page. You might be seeing the older version. So Ruby, please go ahead and email that to us as quickly as possible. And I'm going to make sure that I scribble that down now along with the zero content template. I'm going to have to go ahead and email our SpeedyNet members with, you know, the sign-up information for SpeedyCom. Okay, right. So typically what we have here, you're going to be able to see on the notice board the newest publications that will be added. So typically, so for product support books revisited, that went here in module 2, so it still appears here, but it's always going to be up here. This is our Speedy Nugget, which is how to choose the best title for discovery and conversion. That goes down here, and that's choosing the right title under Speedy Nuggets. So we've got 31 of those there. All you've got to do is to click the link, and it will take you to that particular page. You can download how to choose a nonfiction book title. Everyone should definitely download this. It's very important. This kind of tells you exactly how to choose that particular title. So how to be, how to the ultimate guide, simple steps, how to be the best. These are all for nonfiction. You've got negative spin on book titles, titles that capitalize on fear, book titles that make things easier, ease the burden of your readers, how to get rid of, how to save time, how to do this, how to do that. These are typically titles that will help you, kind of get set, basically, in terms of creating something that that will convert well for your book titles. Okay, so again, that is actually what would take place. So this is where our lessons appear, and you can go ahead and find those lessons here easily. Okay, great. Where's weekly lessons? Carrie says, can you give some examples of apps? Okay, sorry, Mike Broken. One quick question. Love the blank books. Okay, but is it important to buyers of interactive? Yes, it is. Very important. Okay. So I'm not clear on what kind of apps. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Okay, so let's start in terms of apps. Okay, so what we're talking about in terms of apps are, let's say we go to the Google Play Store. So let's go over to Google Play. And we can look on Google Play and we can look on things like apps. Now, the key thing for an app is that you can have apps that are gamified, but you can also have apps that deliver recurring content, right? So one of the places that we sell our content to include places like Google Books and places like Google Play, where we can sell our books on these particular platforms because they're in the EPUB format. Now, the key thing here is that this app, is going to be able to deliver recurring content in new and unique recipes, right? So this is important. So if you have an app, you can use that app to deliver dynamic content. So if you've got a recipe book or a cookbook, you can continue to add recipes over and over and over. So you can add a new recipe every day, or add a new recipe every week, or this week's recipe, or a new recipe, never before seen recipes. You can do stuff like that, right? So this is key in terms of when you're creating your content, and in terms of how you understand in the delivery concept. If you want to make your book, if you created a book, that's a cookbook, and you have a lot of recipes that you can possibly add in the future, you can use that particular book to create an app. When you create that app, what you do is that it's very simple. Through something like WordPress or some content management system, all you do is add the content, and then that content automatically uploads or is made available to the person who has downloaded that app. And what you do is that you can charge access for that app on a monthly basis. So that works on Amazon as well. So you're able to actually go ahead and log into an Amazon Apps account. Amazon has that option, right? And Amazon will allow you to sell your app, collect monthly on that particular app, and continue to earn. And that is typically what takes place. And you can see here, Amazon apps are growing at an alarmingly fast rate. And they're making a lot of money. So you want to make sure that your app is something that is continuous, so you can earn over a period of time. We do talk about apps here. So let's go ahead. It's here in a lesson, and there's so much content. I know it's here. LSI, it would be under getting content, finding niches, choosing categories. We've got interactive books, product support, audible.com, Kindle blogs, profiting from translations, profit with product support books, profit with fiction books, full distribution, picture-only books. We're going to scroll down here. It is possibly in one of these. Let's find it. Amazon apps should be here in one of our lessons. Publishing, CreateSpace, Audible, Google Books Partner Program. And we have that. Getting into libraries, children's books, profit with fiction books, 12 by 12 program, profit with Kobo, full distribution. I think it would possibly be, I think it fell under here, which was actually the Google Books Partner Program. And it allowed us to actually go ahead and put our books into Google Books and Google Play. So it's very, very simple in terms of creating that particular app. All you've got to do is to use something like Mobile Conduit, and we spoke about that. You use Mobile Conduit, you get your content into Mobile Conduit, then you go into the Amazon App Store, and then you're going to be able to utilize that Amazon App Store in order to upload your content and make it dynamic. So you're going to make it dynamic through Mobile Conduit, that you're going to be able to add content through Mobile Conduit or that particular service, and then it's going to automatically update on that particular system. So it's very, very, very simple. It's not an extremely difficult task. But what you want to do is that you want to make sure that your content is going to be dynamic. Very important. and that you can deliver content over a period of time quite easily. So let's head on. That is on apps. Okay. Okay, membership site. Can you give me some examples on the apps? Okay, sorry, I'm broken mic. Love the black books, but is it important to buyers of the interactive book to open flat like spiral bound? It depends. It's not specific that they need spiral bound. The reality here is that if it's a crossword puzzle, or a crossword puzzle book, it's not dramatically necessary, right? The key thing is that you want to be able to make sure that information that they can write on is enough in from the gutter. And when I say the gutter, I'm talking about, to the right here. So you want to make sure that you have an extended gutter. If you can see this coming over, right, then that will remain here. Or what you can do is that you change your entire size. So you could possibly change your book size into possibly an 8 by 10, right? And you can do it in that particular way. So it's a little bit larger, and then you can, of course, extend the gutter even more so that the person has ample room in which to toggle and do what they want to do. So it's not something that's, kind of caught up right in the corner. And typically, your zero content books should be around 50 to 60 pages. It shouldn't be dramatically large. So, unless even if it's a coloring book, you're talking about, 20 pages of the uncolored image along with the colored image on the other page that will help the child, of course, kind of guide that child to try and replicate what they're seeing. So that typically can be easily amended using the different styles that we have here. So that's typically what we do. I'm not clear on what kind of apps are used for children's books. Can you elaborate? Okay. For children's books, what we're talking about in terms of apps are things that are going to, of course, keep that child engaged. It can be a game. It can be a nursery rhyme. It can be the adventures thereof. It can be an animation. It can be anything at all in that particular light. It can be bedtime stories. It can be anything, absolutely anything whatsoever. As long as it engages that particular child, then it's going to be useful at the end of the day. And that is key, critical, and important. You want to make sure that you take that into account. So there are many, many examples as we're talking about in terms of, let's head over here to Google Play. You can look for children's games or children's books free or children's Bible. Very big thing that, children's books. So children's books and Bible stories. So you've got here where you have these other particular types of apps. Now these, while not specific to books, can actually be spin-offs of books, right? As you can see here, I think most of us would know about John and Jay Boyer and their overall farting thing. Here is one called Fish Farts Kids, right? And this is just a typical game, right? And as you can see here, this is basically what happens, and you've got 556 people. 38 people give it a 1-star rating, and they continue to, of course, do tweaks. But the reality here is that this is a children's app, and you can pretty much use your book and do any kind of spin-offs based on it. And it's not very expensive to have an app created like this, because you can clone apps. You can have your own app created. In my opinion, 90% of the time, what I do is that when I create a children's book, I look for an existing app that is similar to either one I've created or one that is already out there. And I would look on that app. I'd purchase that app myself. I would, have a look on it, see what seems to be going on. You want to always go ahead and you want to see all the ratings and see what people are saying. Amazing, all ages. You want to see the majority of the reviews, what people are saying. Love it, my 2-year-old loves the game. Just wish there was a lock on it so he could get out of it easily. And all of these, you can read a couple of these things, and then you can craft your own version, which is probably a little bit better, and rename it, and then put it out there. But just make it applicable to what it is that, your book is about. And you keep them kind of focused. So if you have a character in your book, you want to make sure you put that character in that particular app. And then you can, of course, promote the app within your book. That is perfectly plausible, and Amazon absolutely loves that. But I can tell you, they've said it, that they love the fact that if you're linking from your Kindle book to your app, because it keeps the person in, focused in on what it is that they are selling. Okay, yes, it will be, Ruby, for sure. Is it good to use a pen name for zero content books? Will your team honor style preferences of the author when creating the books? Yes, we will. That's for sure. That is clear. Anything that you would want, Marilyn, if you want to have the book created in a particular way, we'll go ahead and do that. We have no issues in doing that. Suzette and her team will definitely look into whatever it is that you want to go ahead and ask. If you want anything at all to be done specific, just go ahead and pen that in. The reality here is that you've got to understand that if you're asking for something, because we've got, I think a member is asking about die cuts, which are pop-outs. We can go ahead and institute that element in the particular book. The problem is that we're not the printers, so we can't ensure that it happens. When that zero content book is given to you, you must then determine if you're going to publish it through CreateSpace and LSI and wherever you intend to publish it. Now, when that time comes, then you'll have to speak to that printing press and say, well, I've got die cuts in there which are going to be, pockets that someone can actually stick stuff in. I've got die cuts, so I'm going to need die cuts being placed when it's being printed. This, of course, is going to be at an additional cost because it's not an ordinary print run. So they're going to price it, and they're going to tell you exactly how much it's going to cost in order to do that, right? But that's something that we can put in as an element. But the fact of the matter is that we can't determine if the person, if your printing press is going to be able to do that and what they're going to charge for it. So we'll honor basically just about anything, right? Because we have specific standards that we have to meet. And I am very, very vigilant in making sure that 24-hour covers make sure that all Speedy Publishing members are taken care of. And nothing slacks off on that. Okay. So could you please tell us where your audio lessons are in the members area? Haven't noticed them. Are we talking about audio books or are we talking about audio lessons? Because we pretty much, Pat, do mainly video lessons. So could you give me kind of updates on that? Is the KDP ISBN legit for BookWire? No, KDP does not have an ISBN. KDP has what is known as an ASIN, which is a unique Amazon attributed number. So KDP does not actually give you an ISBN. It's an ASIN. If they have, I have not seen that, and I would never use it in any event, just based on the fact that I am sure that this would transcend, eventually through Apple and one of those places where they themselves might obviously not want to take, take that stuff. Take any book that has an Amazon ISBN and be a disaster. Would definitely not do that. No, Tony, it's the ASIN is not a legitimate number that is out there. Goodreads, I think, does accept the ASIN, but if you're talking about other retail platforms and other major affiliates that work with Ingram content, no, they would not be taking that ASIN. It's an Amazon number. Great, Pat. Okay, the BISAC codes, James. The BISAC codes category. Okay. By category codes. I'm not sure what you're saying here, James. Okay, let me go back to your earlier question. Okay. James said, can plastic bound be spiraled through Speedy Publishing, James? Okay, I think I got that one, James. I'm not sure if you're saying, about the BISAC codes. Could you scribble that down again for me, please? If you could do that. Is there a checklist somewhere, Carrie asked? Is there a checklist somewhere that would guide a new person through the whole thing step by step? Okay. Whoa. There is typically, here's what I would do if I was, just starting out. I would start at Module 1, and I would go through Module 1 and Module 2. This pretty much will give you the basis of where to start. Then you can decide exactly if you're going to think about, dealing with product support books or subscription books or interactive books or picture books, or, you can look back on product support books. You can decide exactly what you want to work with. You can also go into whether or not you want to go into fiction niches. So I would say Module 1 through 3 really and truly gives you the basis of everything that is to follow. Once you've gone through those 3 modules, then you're going to get help on determining how to acquire content and content acquisition. And then, of course, we teach you exactly on how to publish to each particular platform and to handle full distribution, Apple iBookstore, profiting with Kobo, creating interactive content. This is a really great one here, picture-only books. I should have mentioned this to you. There is a picture book only template. And this kind of shows you exactly how to do that. So the picture-only books, profiting with that, this template can help you. I think we can download the PDF slide to it. I think it's there as well. Right. So we talk about picture books and illustrated books, what you will basically need, and then we give you the right template that you're going to actually use, and you're going to be able to use that template. And we also tell you about what picture-only books are basically going to be good for. Definitely that's something that you would want to go into for anyone who is putting out a picture-only book. Awesome. So I would start at Module 1, go through 3, and then I can basically decide on where I would be going, right? So I would then choose that, and then I would go down to Module 7, where I'll now learn about what is known as book discovery, promotion, and advertising. And then, of course, I would start looking on my different Speedy nuggets and to see exactly how I can apply any of these strategies to continuously boost my revenue. So that's also very important. Stuff like deep discounts, very important. Your advanced Speedy sales pages, foreign language markets, ISBN marketing, your BISAC codes, Listmania, very important. What to do with Wattpad, Lightning Source, enhanced books made simple. This is a very, very, very important training lesson. This is a very important training lesson. This basically tells you how to actually add videos and audio to your particular ebook. Very, very important lesson. Can't stress that enough. So you just want to go ahead and get started with Module 1 through to 3. And then everything will come together for you immediately after that. It will be a lot easier for you to be able to navigate through Carrie. Okay. Rats, when did you start? Oh, okay, Buzz. Okay, Buzz. Yeah, we've been here for a while. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Pat. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, so Read a Link. Yeah, Read a Link is the service that is basically handling that overall, kind of switch over. So as you can see here, they deal with this type of distribution. So let's go ahead and look on who they actually sell to. I think they have this option here. Right, so they work with these publishers, and they offer what is known as ebook fulfillment. And this is very important that you've got to kind of notice. They've got business analytics. I'm going to try and find the different places that they are actually distributing their content to. So let's look on distribution and fulfillment. I'm going to find that link for you here. Let's link merchandising solutions. They have, they've got Walmart, Target, Walgreens. Oh, this is a totally different site apparently. They've got Walmart, Target, Walgreens. Let's see if they've got that link here. Distribution and logistics, ebook fulfillment. They've got that here. I'm trying to find that actual page that has all of their existing customers. And this is for publishers, okay, or customers. Here we go. Okay, great. So these are their customers. These are the customers that they provide books to, right? And what's going to happen is that they're going to begin providing these guys with what is known as a digital method. They provide them with these particular books, and these are, print books at this particular stage. But what you want to do is that when they get to the point where individuals are walking into those stores and can purchase digital content, it's going to be an absolutely amazing thing. So you want to make sure that you are getting prepared for things like this and not left out in the cold. So this is something that eventually, once they get this particularly correct, and I don't see this going into 2014 and still not being done. If you're watching the news, you can see that basically Overstock.com is trying to price war Apple at this part, trying to price war Amazon at this particular stage, which is extremely weird. But you can see that a company like ReadALink, who is quietly going about their business and are dealing with, ebook fulfillment, and they have taken that technology with, of course, Textile, which is a company that we, of course, distribute to as well. They're using that technology, and they're going to actually be dealing with ebook fulfillment through Texter into these particular stores. And when that time comes, it's going to change the game dramatically. And at that particular stage, Amazon will still be a major player, but they will not only be the major player across the board, in my opinion. And when that happens, you want to be ready to be able to take advantage of all of that at the end of the day. So don't let that miss you. Okay, great. Great, Ruby. My username and password won't let me in. What's your support? Okay, support is at Speedy Publishing Help. And let me make sure that I'm not telling you a lie. Speedy Publishing Help at kayako.com. So I'm just going to put that link here. Here you go, guys. And I'm going to send to all. Okay, great. Okay, awesome, dude. Thanks. No problem, Carrie. All the way back to finishing the descriptions for the CreateSpace books, they asked for the category. Okay, James. I assume this as they can place your book in the category you want it placed. Correct. I'm speaking of your book as a product edition purchase. Can you only just use one code? Typically, when it depends. You have primary and secondary codes that can be utilized, right? If you purchase the Speedy book from us, we normally do give you the option of choosing the category on your own. That's because positioning is an important thing. If you have a book that is, let's say, on the thyroid diet, it can go into health and fitness, or it can go into weight loss. The term diet is kind of ambiguous. You can use it for multiple purposes. One of the things that you want to be able to do is that you want to be able to position your books correctly, right? And so we don't try to kind of restrict you to that one BISAC code. Amazon allows you to use about 2 or 3 BISAC codes. I think so does Barnes & Noble, and so does I think Apple also allows you to do that as well. You want to basically choose the primary one, the best one for you, the number one, and then you want to market in that particular niche. It's very, very important that you do that. So in this particular instance, I have spoken to Lillian, who heads up the Speedy Book editor team. She basically creates all our Speedy books, monitors that, works with the writing staff to get that done. So I will speak to her because I think in our book details we're supposed to be delivering that category. I'm going to start asking her to deliver that category as well as the BISAC code. She does deliver your keywords as well. Typically, you'd use those keywords to kind of help you, target or position your book in the direction that you want to go ahead and do that. But normally, we don't try and, make it as rigid and say, this is the direction that you're going, James. I'm not sure if I'm hoping I'm answering your question here, just to be on the safe side. Yes, Buzz, we are recording it. Awesome, Pat. Awesome. Are you serious? Are we at the end of questions here? Thought you guys had more. James, if you're still there, did I answer your question? Awesome, guys. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been totally great. And there is so much more to come. So let me just drop a couple of hints for the coming week. Okay. So we want to go ahead and look on, let me just head over to Amazon here. And we're going to look on Office 2013. Just for everyone who wants to kind of know, we're looking on Office 2013 here, and what we want to do is that we want to basically go ahead and look in books. Very important. We're going to scroll down here. So we looked on product support books as our lesson for the previous week, and we're going to be looking on something known as pamphlets. Very important here, guys, because you guys can start doing some research on your own. Remember, even though I give you a full hour in terms of a lesson, you've got to kind of wrap your head around the entire concept, and then you can start moving on it. Now, I always believe that you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but if you're top level down and you're trying to make sure that you're putting together something that will bring in revenue constantly on either side of the world, you've got to look on your business as a whole, not try to grow too fast where you're putting in more cash capital than human capital. You always want to put in more human capital rather than cash capital. That's always something that you always want to remember. So in this particular instance, we looked on zero content books and we looked on product support books. But there's a particular way that we want to look on things. If you're looking on this particular thing here, it's called Microsoft 2013 Essentials Quick Reference Guide, Cheat Sheet of Instructions, Tips and Shortcuts, and it's laminated. So I want to make sure that everyone is seeing this here, right? Okay. So this is the laminated card kind of thing, and it's by a company called Bezix Inc. And what you're seeing here is the actual card. So of course there's back and front on it. We already know this. And I'm going to close this here. It falls into the category of books. It is a pamphlet. And there are not many words that are attached to this particular book here. Possibly, I would say anywhere around 2,000 to 3,000 words overall, but the overall design of it is here, right? So pamphlets can be created. Now, while it's a little bit difficult to create these pamphlets through somewhere like CreateSpace, the reality here is it can be done, and it can be done in a very simple way. Now, being sold at $3.24, right, we already know that anything that is being sold at this particular price here, Amazon is getting a slight cut of it. So let's say this guy is getting probably around, I'd probably say at the very least $1.50 for each particular sale. At $3,226 in books overall, this is absolutely tremendous. This company, Bezix Inc., is making an absolute killing in terms of selling something that's 2,000 to 3,000 words in a pamphlet format. Can we do this? Of course we can. It's not difficult to do at all. And we can be selling pamphlets all day. And as you can see, Bezix has done a whole lot in terms of this particular strategy. And you can look on something like this, Google in depth. This is just a laminated card. This is all it is. And we can see here that, okay, so this is not doing that well, 592, 566. Let's probably try Internet Explorer here. And let's see how that's doing. 44,000 in books, #1 in books, computers, technology. How ridiculous is this? That this particular book here, it's a laminate card. It's nothing more than a laminate card, and they're making an absolute killing. So we've of course gotten our own laminated cards too. So we'll be teaching you this weekend on exactly how to go about doing this, which is something that's limited content. And you'll be able to go ahead and start publishing these as well. And again, please, kind of remember that this is limited kind of information. Basically, what you want to kind of understand is that you're going to be able to profit from this particular strategy as well. So, guys, this basically concludes our call. Okay, we missed a couple of questions. Okay, I'm sorry, Buzz. I missed the opening of the webinar. I was an early birder. Okay, great. Winningcrapsmoney.com. Okay, awesome. All right, great. Let me see. Excellent. Okay, Elizabeth, thank you. No problem, guys. No problem. Somewhat, thanks. Okay, James. Awesome, guys. So I'm going to start closing up now. So thank you so much for attending. And we are off. And again, if anyone does need any help, please go to speedypublishinghelp.kayako.com. Reach out to the guys there, Nadine or Tracy. If you need to speak to me directly, just go ahead and let them know, and I'll try to arrange a one-on-one meet with you as soon as possible so we can probably discuss a little bit more about your existing business. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop the recording now and end the webinar. Thanks so much for attending, and we're off.